Hi everyone, this is Andrew. I am a member of the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley, and I'd like to share with you a little something that brings me joy. For the past few months, I've been working on making a telescope by hand, and to share that with you, I'd also like to kind of show you a little bit about how a reflecting telescope works. And then I'll show you a little bit of how I do things. So I have a little diagram, and I promise I will not use any math. All right, so this is how a telescope, oops, let me get the strap out of the way. This is how a telescope would work. The sun would hit our object, which could be a planet, a moon, anything, and that object would then bounce the light off into our telescope, which has to be a curved shape so that the light can kind of bounce and center around I forget what the front mirror is called, but there's a angled flat mirror which then bounces into our eye. And that's basically how a reflecting telescope works. In order to hand make one, we have to create this parabolic shape, which actually isn't bent to such an extreme as you see here. It's actually it's nearly flat, and the precision of this parabolic bend actually has to be within a few microns, which, to kind of give a scale of things of what a micron or a few microns would be, 70 microns is actually the width of the typical human hair. And here we have, I'll mount this on my trusty tripod here. Alright, so here we have the glass, which will later become a mirror. We have some grit, which is a silicon carbide, a little tank of water, and the tool. The tool is actually a bunch of ceramic tiles placed into set into plaster. And what happens is when you put, so I'll put a little bit of water on here. So with the water and some of the silica, I just have it here so that you can kind of see what it looks like. So you would put the silicon carbide onto the tool, like so. It doesn't really matter how much. And then you would kind of take the glass and just set it on top. And you would have to, it was described to me in terms of the technique, it was described to me as a consistent randomness. So basically what you would have to do is you would kind of arbitrarily decide how many strokes you would like back and forth. For me, I picked 10. And so that would be the consistency. The randomness is actually why I've placed this on the corner of my counter. I would have to move it back and forth 10 times, and then move my body and then shift the mirror at an arbitrary amount of, like at an arbitrary rotation. And that's the randomness. So those two things ensures that it both grinds evenly, and that I'm not grinding, well, yeah, it's basically to ensure that I grind evenly. And the interesting thing is the silicon carbide will actually bite into or grind against both the glass and the tool at the same time. So the tool actually kind of forms with the glass, and that's how we get the parabolic shape. And another thing to kind of think about is when it's grinding, it will actually grind the middle the most, because there's a lot more, when I'm grinding, you can imagine as I'm pushing this forward and back, the sides aren't being ground as much as the middle, and so that's also how you get that little little parabolic shape. And this process takes about, well, for me it'll probably take about a year, but in terms of the number of work hours, the mirror itself could take about 50 hours. And it really depends on how big the mirror is. Mine is actually an 8-inch in diameter. And then after I do that a few times, eventually I'll notice that there's not as much resistance, and that means that the silicon carbide has kind of ground down into like fairly smooth spheres instead of just being these gritty grains. When that happens, that's why I have the bucket, and I would basically dip the glass and the tool in the bucket to wash off the used grains, and then I would sort of rinse and repeat, and I will be doing that for the next 50 or so hours, as long as I don't make any mistakes. Obviously, if I do make a mistake, I will have to kind of go back and do some stuff again. So hopefully I will check back in 2017 with a brand new mirror. And just as a little fun little note, this particular telescope, because we spend so much time with our telescopes, this particular telescope I will be naming Lucy. Lucy 2, actually. Lucy 1 I lost because I had a car break-in, funny enough, and I think they took a really heavy duffel bag and didn't realize what they had taken, and that it probably wouldn't be any use to them. And the reason I named it Lucy is because it is it's the reflecting layer at the back of your eye. So it's what causes things like the red eye effect when you take a person's picture. And that is called tapetum lucidum, the bright tapestry. So thus we have Lucy. That is all, and I hope you enjoyed my little, me sharing my little hobby here, and I will see you all next time.